Dr. Malcolm Everett was a man of boundless ambition and relentless drive. As a neuroscientist, he had dedicated his life to breaking the barriers of human consciousness and communication. His latest invention, a neural implant, promised to revolutionize the way we interact with those trapped in vegetative states, unable to communicate. It was designed to bridge the gap between thought and expression, allowing for direct mind-to-mind communication. The first test subject was a mouse. Dr. Everett carefully implanted the chip into the small creature's brain, monitoring its neural activity with meticulous precision. The results were promising. The mouse seemed to respond to his thoughts, navigating mazes with an eerie intelligence that was unmistakably human-directed. Encouraged by his success, Dr. Everett found himself impatient with the slow pace of clinical trials. The ethical committees and regulatory hurdles felt like insurmountable walls, delaying the inevitable progress of science. Convinced of the implant's safety and efficacy, he made a fateful decision. Late one night, alone in his lab, he prepared to implant the chip into his own brain. Using a specialized device he had designed, Dr. Everett implanted the chip through his skull and into the delicate tissues of his brain. The procedure was swift, the pain bearable. As he activated the implant, a surge of elation washed over him. Everything seemed fine at first. He could sense the neural connections forming, the intricate dance of synapses and electronic impulses intertwining seamlessly. But then, everything changed. In an instant, Dr. Everett found himself inside a mouse cage. Panic gripped him as he looked around, seeing the world from a drastically reduced perspective. He saw himself standing outside the glass in a catatonic state. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. He was trapped inside the mouse's body. Moments later, a wave of relief washed over him as he found himself back in his own body. But the relief was short-lived. Before he could fully grasp what had happened, his consciousness was violently yanked back into the mouse. This cycle of displacement continued, each shift happening with increasing rapidity and intensity. His colleagues found him the next morning, his body convulsing slightly, eyes wide with terror. They rushed him to the medical wing, but no amount of coaxing or medical intervention could reach him. Dr. Everett's consciousness was a prisoner, endlessly oscillating between his body and the mouse, each transition more jarring and disorienting than the last. Doctors and scientists puzzled over his condition. Unable to communicate, Dr. Everett's desperate attempts to convey his plight were met with incomprehension. He was eventually admitted to a psychiatric facility, his once brilliant mind now a shattered mosaic of intermittent awareness. In the sterile, white-walled rooms of the psychiatric ward, Dr. Everett lived out his days in a state of perpetual torment. Electroshock therapy was administered in hopes of resetting his neural pathways, but it only served to amplify his agony. Each jolt sent him careening between bodies, his screams silent and unheard within the confines of his fractured mind. He had become the very subject of his own experiment, a grim testament to the perils of unchecked ambition. Dr. Malcolm Everett, once a pioneer of neural science, was now a cautionary tale, his life a relentless nightmare from which there was no escape.